Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. If you're like me, you kind of grew up watching Pokemon. You know, some Pokemon stuck out to us more than others, and for me, my favorite are the legendaries. In this video, I have decided to make an outfit inspired by one of the legendary Pokemon called Zekrom. Since I am not a sewer really, or I haven't really done a lot of fashion design when it comes to sewing, we're starting with a mock-up, and hopefully in the next video we'll be working on the actual design. So here I have printed out a couple of online free patterns for a little top, and I have a bottom pair as well. As you can see, there's the neck, the front, and the back, and the fabric I'm using. One of the longest parts of this whole process was actually cutting out the pattern. There was like 40 something pages for the pants, and then obviously this shirt wasn't too bad. But as you can see, I'm doing a shirt that's a little bit kind of like a mock neck top. And the whole point of this mock-up is to see if I can get the design to lay the way I want it to lay. But we're just going to zoom along here and kind of go through the rest of me cutting out the pattern. Okay, we've got the pattern cut, and now I'm laying it on this fabric. I have a dark gray kind of muslin that I am putting it on, and I definitely am not a sewer, so instead of pins, I have safety pins to help me hold my pattern down. Don't worry, after this video, I bought a ton of like actual sewing gear, but for now, we've got safety pins, and you know what? It'll get the job done. And if you are a person who sews, you know that you lay the fabric on the line, on like the little half fold, and then you just cut it out and it'll lay the way you want it to lay. So I'm doing it here for the front and for the back. And for the little collar that goes around the top. Okay, now that I've got all three pieces cut out, there's the back, the front, and the collar, we're good to move on to kind of figure out what the heck I'm going to put on top of it. If you've ever seen what Zekrom looks like, you've got a very intricate pattern, but for me, I'm going off of a little sketch that I did, and I don't have any painters or sewers marks, so I've got a highlight pen. Please don't judge me. Alright, all the lines are drawn out, and now I'm putting on safety pins to the front part of the top. That way I can begin cutting out the rest. So at about this point, I realized that, hey, I don't need to draw what's happening on both sides. I can just match it up and make my work so much easier. Because I had it unfolded, and that was dumb. So here I am matching up kind of the lines for the front and the back, and now finally we are chopping up, that's the back, there's all the pieces, and then the front was a little more complicated, so it's got a little more pieces to it. Alright, and we're looking like we're in good shape. On the left, we have the front. You can see there's all the pieces that'll come together, and then the back. And now we move on to actually sewing it together. So at this time, I did not have a sewing machine. So my option, and I was totally fine to do this for the mock-up, was to just hand sew everything, do a little couturness. But we're taking out all the safety pins, kind of laying out how all the pieces are going to go. And my biggest kind of worry here is just making sure that all the lines look good when they're actually sewn together. They don't look cramped, that my placement was right. Alright, welcome to day 3 of putting this mock-up together. Fun fact, a lot of this sewing that I did, I actually did in the early morning or late at night. Like, there was almost no in between. I work full-time during the day, so it just makes sense for me to kind of do everything at night or in the morning, which I don't mind. I kind of love watching the sun come up, so it was no issue for me. But if you can see a little bit, I've got some of the sides sewn together for the front, and now we're just attacking just as much as we can, going up the sides. I try to put the light on it to make it a little bit brighter, as you can see. That kind of worked and kind of didn't. So this is me later that very night, working on kind of the rest of the top. Yeah, and as you can see, I'm just doing kind of a simple running stitch back and forth. I still have a lot to learn about all the different kind of sewing techniques, especially when it comes to hand sewing. But for me, I wasn't super worried about that. It was just more worried about how is this actually going to lay out when the whole project's finished. And we almost have the top all sewn together. I'm just sewing in this little kind of diamond in the very center. When I actually get started on the project and have the right fabric and everything, the goal is to have 2 different kinds of colors, you know, this kind of dark gray and then a black that match the colors of the character that it's for. And there we are! That is the front! Yep, pointing out kind of all the different lines. There's some of the problem areas, but overall, not too bad. Alright, day 4, we are already going on the back piece. As you can see, I've already got some of it together. And here, I'm putting all the pieces on. And near the end of this clip, I realized that somehow I had lost one of the main pieces for the back. So after recutting a new piece, we were finally good to start sewing and putting the rest of the back together. That night, here I've got the rest of the back piece that I'm working on and the front piece next to it, and the hope is that I'll be able to sew both of them together and get the collar on. I will say one of the kind of fun things about trying out this mock-up and putting it together was that it was very relaxing. Like, cutting out the pattern was not as fun, but actually sewing and putting it together was super easy to do, and I could throw on some TV and just let my hands kind of do the work going back and forth. And especially with the top, since like all of the stitches I needed to do weren't that long, it was easy to just kind of let my mind go and just have the needle go back and forth through the whole thing. Alright, this is at the end of the night, and you can see I put everything kind of together. Well, everybody, welcome to day 5 of putting this mock-up together. Today we are starting on cutting out the pattern for the pants. So I already taped all of the sheets together that I would need, and here I am actually now kind of tracing out everything to make the pattern. This whole thing felt very hodgepodge. I just had, paper, I had tape, but you know what? It worked, so we'll take it. Although I am super grateful that, there was a free online pattern for this, part of me was kind of wishing at this point, well, I wish I had like an actual pattern to go off of. But it's free, so where can you complain? But here I am just putting together, kind of the two pant panels. There was a tie that came with it, but I decided for the pattern to go just with the pants. Yep, and there we have them. The front panel, as you can see, on the left, and the back on the right. And that's just for the one pant leg. Alright, and here we are finally cutting the pattern on the actual fabric. I had enough for the front piece, but I quickly realized that as I cut the rest of everything out for the front, that I was not going to have enough for the back. So here I am just, doing my best to get as much of the fabric as I can, because the point of this mock-up is not to have it be perfect, which it clearly is not going to be at this point, but just to get the idea of if the actual thing is going to work. And again, we're just repeating the same process, kind of marking out the cuts I want to make to the pants so that they match the design that I had. Also, if you guys are a fan of BoJack, that's what's playing on the television right now. That's a freaking hilarious show. Yeah, Thankfully for this one, the pants design is a lot simpler than the shirt. There's only a few cuts I really had to make sure it looked good. And of course I held it up to my actual legs. But as you can see, we're already starting to go, sewing it together, just because it was that easy. And at the end of this project, I was ready to just have the mock-up be done so I could see it and have the whole thing together. Because at this point I knew this is not going to be perfect. I only have enough for one pant leg. And here we are again next day, or excuse me, later that night, putting everything together. Alright, here we've got both pieces kind of as they are. As you can see, there's the front of it. I did a pretty good job overall. There's some places where it's scrunched together, and for me, just even putting it on, I realized that parts of it were a little bit too small, and I didn't even get the chance to put the collar on, but that's okay. The back overall for the design looked really good, and I love just how simple it came out, although I'm going to have to make sure both sides and the ends look good. And then here's the pants. Obviously the fabric cutting it out wasn't that great, but I mean, it's not too bad, and the design came out not too bad at all. So when I actually put it together, it'll be fun. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.